Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this webinar this morning. We would like to give a few more minutes for some of the attendees to log in. So let's give them a few minutes for them to log in, and we'll kick off the webinar in earnest. Thank you. Well, we have new people who have joined us. We will start at exactly 5 minutes past 11, just to give a few more minutes for others to join us. Thank you. Welcome everyone to the webinar brought to you by inq and Zadara. This year has been a difficult one for many people around the world, and for us in Nigeria especially. inq and Zadara have partnered to bring to you service brought inq and Zadara have a partner to bring to you a service that will help ease the pain of the pandemic and the challenges that enterprises have faced. On the panel today, we have Solomon Ogufere, who is the Commercial Director for inq.Digital Nigeria. We also have our partner from Zadara, Tal, who will be taking us through the presentation. I also have my colleague Romanus, who will also be part of the presentation as well. So without wasting your time, I'll hand over to Solomon Ogufere for the welcome address and to give you a few words about who we are and what we do. Over to you, Solomon.
Thank you very much, Abu, and welcome again to everyone for taking the time to attend this webinar. I want to presume quite a number of us on this call are familiar with us. We were formerly Vodacom Business, we're now Inc. I'll tell you, what we do, where we are, and who we serve. Obviously, most of you know us prior to now for strong connectivity services. We still do that. But in addition, we're transiting our business to cloud and digital, providing those kind of services, delivering simpler, seamless solution to complex challenges. We are in over 16 cities, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Abidjan, Douala, the likes. And we continue to serve the customers which we were serving prior to now, and in addition, we've expanded that to, retail distribution, the likes of banking and finance, mining, construction, as well as tourism. Our product pillars, has continued to evolve. In the new pillar, we now have obviously intelligence connectivity, which we were well known for, SD and NFV, cloud solutions, which is our focus for today, Edge AI, as well as digital solution. Under the cloud solution, we have cloud infrastructure as a service, cloud connectivity, cloud data management, as well as enterprise storage, which is our focus for today. I'll now hand you over to our partner, Tai, who will walk us through the details of what we're offering today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abu and Solomon, for hosting us. And hi, everyone. My name is Tal Rotem. I'm the regional director at Zadara for South Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I will walk you through on what Zadara is all about and what are the services that we are together with Inc. are providing to enterprises in Nigeria. So very briefly about Zadara. Zadara was founded in 2011, and we are a provider of cloud infrastructure as a service all around the world. We have more than 300 clouds across 6 continents that we manage together with our service provider partners. And I will show you a little bit of the, some examples and some brands, highlight brands that we are working with. We have our headquarters is in US, but we have offices all around the world. And we've been growing tremendously fast in the past 4 years with the indication from Deloitte. We are ranked in Deloitte Technology Fast 500. Those are the fastest growing technology companies in North America. For 4 years in a row, we were just given that indication in 2020, and we believe with our plans and growth that we see that in 2021 we'll probably be there as well. We have very good indications from financial institutes as well as very large service providers in the market that our solution really is solid and enables them to provide cutting-edge cloud services. Some logos, some companies that, and this is just a few we can highlight here, the likes of Rakuten, Verizon, Inc. as service providers, and also we have universities, financial institutes, government institutes, retails, etc. So this is just a few of the many companies that we work with. Okay, so first I will start with some market indicators, and I will have some more as we go along the presentation. This is a research we've done together with IDC and we presented it in one of our joint webinars with IDC. This graph shows you the evolution of data storage in the market worldwide. What we see here is in the graph we have two lines. One, the upper one is the external storage. Those are the traditional storage arrays. We see that this market has been growing a little bit, but somewhat stagnating. You can see that also in the reports of the multinationals, the Dells, HPs, IBM, etc. That this market is, for some of them, it's shrinking a little bit. For some, it's growing, but very, very slow. However, if you look at the hyperscale cloud, at the service providers, the large service providers, you can clearly see the tremendous growth of data being stored in the cloud. And probably in 2020, we'll see this gap closes even more. And 2022, 2023 is probably when there's going to be the inflection point where the public cloud will actually pass the traditional. And there's good reasons for that, why this is happening. So IDC made a very large executive survey for IT managers, CIOs, etc., and asked for what is the reason that they are moving into the cloud or consider moving into the cloud. It's quite interesting to look at the reasons. One of them is the performance, and you would ask yourself, why am I getting better performance in the cloud rather than on-premise? And the answer is not that having your infrastructure in the cloud is more performant, but the difference is that in on-premise you have a lot of legacy. It's very hard to replace and be at the edge of the technology all the time. However, in the cloud, those services are available all the time, and you can always migrate your service to a new service, a new machine, a new storage service that is more performant, more cutting edge. If you want to stay on the older one, it's always available, but those infrastructures and services are always getting newer and newer. Also, the security, it's very hard to maintain, although psychologically, when the data sits on-premise, so the feeling is that it's more secure because it's closer. This is something related to how human beings think. However, the cloud providers, which are technology companies, they're not financial companies or banks or manufacturers. This is their expertise. This is what they do. And when they manage the security, they take it very, very seriously, and they invest a lot of money into security. So actually, in terms of data security, there's a lot of advantages when you use a provider which this is their main business. Also, some others, the ease of scaling and the TCO, although they are at the bottom of the list, they are still considerably important. And we see even in the large providers, hardware providers, they're also starting to move into OpEx, although it's not as perfect as the cloud, but they are seeing this demand from the organizations, from the customers, to move more into a OpEx manner, improve the TCO, etc. I think this year with the pandemic, it was very, I think two things were very substantial. One is the access to the data center. With the pandemic, it showed us that the infrastructure is not always accessible, and if you rely on someone that can manage it for you, that can be actually a very good benefit. And the second is the capex, getting the capital for investment. This is the capital available for organization through the pandemic, which were hit a lot by the financial implications of the pandemic. Now they're actually looking into other ways in order to utilize those IT services. Okay, so what is Zadara and what do we provide? So we provide, as I said, a cloud infrastructure as a service. So we have, and I will talk about it more. We have compute, networking, and storage. All can be provided on premise, in a public cloud, in a service provider where we have a vast network of service providers, and in Nigeria we work closely with inq. And it can also be on premise at a customer on premise, still consumed in the same manner as a service. We can deliver virtual CPUs, VMs, EC2s, all types of storage, which I'll talk about. And our main focus is on the storage in this webinar. Although it can be wherever you want it, it's still very agile. We're keeping the as is a service, so we keep our users up to date with the latest technology. It's in a pay-as-you-use consumption model, which is much more agile and less vulnerable to mistakes, which sometimes happens when you buy the wrong hardware. And we have our expert management team, which sits in 6 different geolocations, working in a 24/7, 365. So always monitoring the system, making sure that everything works. They are always available for support. This is something that we are very, very proud of. So I'll briefly talk about our compute, and then we'll move more into the storage. But essentially, Zadara, we have 3 layers of our service. One is the Z compute, which is our compute capabilities. The other is the Z network, and the last is the Z storage. On the compute side, we provide elastic compute. If you're familiar with AWS EC2, so we have the same EC2 interface with EC2 APIs. So actually, if you're working in Amazon and you think about getting out because of the high expenditure, what we call the bill shock, so we can provide the same APIs as Amazon EC2. And we have elastic block storage, which are the volumes that are attached to those EC2s, and they can be consumed by the gigabyte. And we have the ability to provide a VPC, a virtual private cloud, completely isolated from one another, and the load balancer to load balance between the workloads or the machines. On the storage side, we have, and I will talk about it in more depth, we are providing all types of storage, block, file, and object. Okay, So, as I said, our focus is the Z storage, and I will talk about it very deeply. We'll cover the technology and also some of the use cases that we are enabling together with inq. And together with our technology alliance, VIM, which is a strategic technology alliance for us and for VIM. We're working on some joint development, and VIM is also available by inq. So what's the Z storage? Z storage is based on a technology, a patent technology, which we developed in-house in Zadara. It's called VPSA, which stands for Virtual Private Storage Array. Essentially is an ability to create multi-tenancy isolated storage arrays for cloud tenants that would like to be completely separated from one another. And I will explain the technology in the next few slides. We have all the media types, so we can work with the hard drives, which are more cost effective, hybrid storage, and also SSD all-flash storage array, which can provide a very high performance. And we support almost any protocol. So for block, we support fiber channel, iSCSI, even ICER, which is the iSCSI over RDMA, a protocol provided by Mellanox for low latency. File, NFS and CIFS, and the object, we support S3 and Swift. We see a lot of applications today that can work on S3 APIs. This is de facto the standard today for object storage, although it was initially developed by AWS. And Swift is more for OpenStack environment, which are more popular in the telco. Okay, so before I move and explain what is a VPSA looks like and how the technology actually looks like, let me just describe you how a typical organization, whether it's an enterprise, manufacturing, a financial institute, or even a service provider. There's a lot of applications that are running in each of these organizations. Some are big data and analytics that require high performance sometimes random, sometimes sequential databases. DevOps environment, which requires to be very, very agile, and most of the large organizations today have a DevOps team. There can be file repositories, production environment, and also remote branches. So for all of these applications, if you go by the traditional manner that has been delivered to enterprises for the last many decades, you have to have a different, even if you go under one logo, you have to go to a different storage solutions or storage boxes, some to handle these high performance workloads, some to handle those file repositories, the backups, and those remote offices. And all this data is organized in silos, which do not really operate well with each other, even if it's under the same brand, same logo. And of course, today we're looking at a hybrid environment where some of it will sit on premise, some of it maybe will be in a public cloud, and some in a local service provider, or in this way or another. And any decision you're taking today, if you buy a traditional in the traditional manner, any decision you're taking today, you'll have to you have to use it for the next 3 to 5 years where you purchase the service and support. And this is a hard decision today because the technology is moving so fast. And really, if you look at the clouds, they're evolving very, very very, very fast. And we see even on the security, we see large amount of security accidents and attacks that are coming in to organizations, medium and large. And it's very hard to bet today on a technology that will satisfy the organization need for the next 3 to 5 years. Here's where our technology comes, where we provide from a single platform the same technology. We can provide 3 types of storage arrays: object storage, hybrid, or what we call block and file, and an all-flash array. And from a single platform, you can generate all 3 types of storage arrays, 3 types of VPSAs, and you can create as many as you want. Each VPSA is logically and physically separated from one another. So in an organization, if you require today you require a new file storage repository, but you're also looking at where you're going to store your backups, and you would like to store some of the backups in object storage, where most of the application today are supporting, or you need you'll need a high performance storage array for in the next year, or even if you want to move between a VPSA to another. This is all of this is available through a single platform. Single platform that no matter where you use it, in a service provider, on-premise, or in the cloud, it can all be consumed in a as a service manner, and it's all the same technology. So a little more about what is a VPSA, just to explain. So what you see in the top is a representation of storage nodes. Okay, those are the servers, standard servers that contains drives. Each one has it in its own column, and they have the controller mechanism or the CPUs that host this controller, the brain of the what's running the storage controller. And every VPSA that we create, as you can see here, this is an example of 3 different VPSA. Every VPSA has its own physical private set of drives from the grid. So the grid can start very small with 2 storage nodes and can grow to almost unlimited number of arrays. We can have more than 100 in a single location. And every VPSA, it can be a tenant, it can be a different department or a different workload. Each one has its own completely isolated set of drives, and also we have 2 controllers, which is virtual. It's a VMs that are running on those controllers. They can be small, and our largest controllers can be 48 cores. So it can grow very, very large, and at any point of time, it fits exactly what you need. So if you need more drive, you can always add more drive to a VPSA. If you need more performance, a larger controllers, it can always be set for a larger controller. And this way, we always fit the VPSA size to exactly what you need at a certain point of time. And the nice thing about it is that you only pay for the VPSAs that are actually consumed and not for the spares that are in this grid. Okay, and this is what our technology allows. Our technology is built for enterprises. It's fully resilient. Our SLA is 5 nines. We're actually, in reality, from our measurements, we are at 5 nines.5, which is very, very robust. If you compare it to other cloud storage, if you look at the hyperscalers, the numbers are lower. They commit to sometimes 3 or 4 nines. Okay, and we actually see those outages. There was an outage, and not on the storage part, but there was an outage for one of the services in AWS, and those things can happen. And it was a long outage. We have more than 300 clouds that we manage. Some of them are very, very substantial, and we see this, the technology is fully resilient. And again, with our 24/7, 365 operation teams that work in 6 different geolocations, we are making sure we are monitoring all the system. We can do non-disruptive hardware and software upgrades. This is part of the service, and this assures you that whenever there is an upgrade, it is done by the best professional teams of Zadara in the world. So you can rest assured that everything is taken care of. The paradigm of the as a service is it really proves itself, and as you can see, even the traditional vendor are now starting to look at the OpEx models and as a service models. However, none of them is where Zadara is, in the sense that it's a truly as a service, not just OpEx like renting or leasing. So if you look at the traditional cycle of a organization, where you have the initial needs and somewhat growth in the first year, then maybe you can suffer a shrink if it's a project, if it's a customer in a service provider, and then there's new project, new growth, etc., and also tech refreshes. Those are very, very expensive cycles inside an organization. And when you don't have, when you're not always 100% aligned to what you actually need, then it incurs a lot of waste. And because your actual usage and actual requirements may vary. And with Zadara, the main advantage, with Zadara together with inq, the main advantage is that you can always keep control of your costs. If there is a project that you don't need anymore and you generated a specific VPSA for that, you can close this project, you can delete this VPSA, and that's it. You don't have to pay for it anymore. And this assures you from financial perspective that you can always adapt to your current financial situation and your current technology requirements. We provide tech updates, so the system that you're using in the first year will not be similar to the system you'll be using in the third year or fourth year. After we go during the service, we go through those tech updates and refreshes. And for you as an organization, it doesn't cost extra because you don't need to buy a new system. This is actually a system. This is actually part of the service. So with that, I'll move into some use cases. First, I would like to mention or highlight that, as I said, Zadara Cloud is available anywhere. It can be on-premise, it can be in a hyper cloud, have it AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google, where we have our infrastructure installed close to those hyperscalers, and you can consume the VPSAs and use those direct connect links, so you can still consume the Zadara, even in a hyperscale environment. We have our large network of service provider, which have the Zadara services deployed. And no matter where you have a Zadara, you can always, those Zadara are connected to each other in the sense that you can replicate data from any Zadara system to another system. Okay, so this gives you a full flexibility of utilizing the Zadara almost anywhere you would like it to be. If you're hosted in one of the very popular use cases is storage as a service. If you're hosted in our rec center in where inq is located, for example, and inq has a Zadara storage service deployed, then what you can do, most of the customers or hosted customers inside those data center, they have half a rack, one rack, or multiple racks. Within those racks, you have your compute layer, your networking, security, and of course storage. And what we can provide for every such tenant, we can provide through a physical connection, physical private connection within the data center, we can provide a VPSA, a storage array dedicated for every customer. And what it means is we can actually replace your primary storage, and then you can save some rack space. You're getting a 24/7 managed storage array, which is managed by or maintained by the inq technology team, and also with Zadara operation teams. And you can use it for your primary storage. It can be a backup, so you can have your primary and connect to a backup, which in many cases doesn't make sense for the backup to sit in the same physical location as the primary data. And what we can also provide is also a replication to a remote site where if you need another replica, it can be another data center, a local data center, and it can be in one of the Zadara locations around the globe. So this is available for you as long as you're using the Zadara. Now, the VPSA is maintained by inq and Zadara teams, but it's actually managed by the user. So the user has its own storage array management GUI, and he's managing the volumes, the pools, and everything. So full controllability, as if you would have, in terms of experience, as if you would have a storage array implemented and managed by yourself, but it's not, you don't have to actually physically maintain it. In addition, we can create a VPSA for shared small customers that just want to consume terabytes of data and don't want to manage their own VPSA. And this is the VPSA that is managed by inq team, completely managed by inq team. So we can, and this is usually in a service provider, traditional service provider, you would have one VPSA or one storage array, monolithic, to host a lot of customers, but then you can only consume gigabytes. You cannot control it, and it's not separated from other tenants like you would have your own VPSA. And the VPSA can be very small. It can start with 2 drives. So even if you need 4 terabytes, we can create a VPSA with just 2 SSDs, and that's it. You have your own storage array. Another use case is for customers that want to have on-premise, what we call on-premise as a service. Again, it's the same technology. We have a edge device, which is a smaller device. It's still consumed in a monthly manner. It has all the abilities to run block, file, and object, 24/7, remote managed by our teams, and we can provide a remote replication without the need to have even a backup software, just a replicate from one VPSA to another in the inq cloud data center. So this is also available. Now, we'll talk a little bit about backups. Actually, not a little bit. Well, this is the next main topic. Backups are very important. There's no need to explain why backups are important. What we do want to highlight here is that in the case of data loss can actually put a business out of business, because today it's very clear that the data is the king. The data is the heart and essence of a business. If you're losing your data, you lost your customer data, you lost your business. It can be an IP, it can be a customer data, and it can be all sorts of information that is critical to run the business. So everybody is doing a backup now. However, we do see from an IDC research that more than 60% of the companies have experienced data breach in the form of malware, ransomware attacks, etc. And 94% of the companies that suffer this catastrophic data loss do not survive, which means this is serious. Backing up your data is very serious and critical for your business. If you don't have a backup strategy, a solid backup strategy until today, it's a good time to. Now is a good time to start. Yesterday was a good time to start. And 50% of all the tape backups actually fail to restore. So some tapes are very popular because they're very cheap. However, when you actually need this data, not always it will be available, even with the latest backup tape technologies. Specifically regarding ransomware, we see the amount of annually cost of a ransomware that has been going on in the market. Again, this is from Cybersecurity Ventures. You see that by 2021, more than about $20 billion will actually be wasted on ransomware attacks, which it's a crazy numbers. And we see every day there's news about medium or very large organizations that are hit by ransomware attack. And once you're hit by ransomware attack, either you have to pay a lot of money, or you're threatened that your customer data will be exposed, credit cards, IDs. This can really hurt your reputation, or just not being able to access the data, and then you're actually out of. You can be at the risk of being out of business, which is critical. So there's 5 ways to protect against ransomware, all the way from educating, limiting access to applications and users, all sorts of layers and patches that you can implement. However, after all of these layers are breached, the only resort you have is your backup. This is what will save you from this ransomware attack. Now, the ransomware are getting more and more sophisticated, and today they are even looking at the backups, and they are attacking the backups. And this is why, even when you implement a backup, it's very important to follow some very strict backup rules. Veeam has developed a very unique ransomware prevention scheme in the latest version V10, which called immutable backups. What's special about immutable backup is the ability to set up a retention policy where you cannot touch this backup. Even as a user, you cannot delete this backup if you set up a retention policy for 6 months or 1 year or whatever. No one can by mistake delete it, deliberately delete it, or even a ransomware attack cannot cannot encrypt this data, they cannot touch this data. It's based on a technology of object storage together with some immutable features that are required from the storage. We are very proud to be the first ones that when Veeam introduced this service, we were the first ones to come out with that together with the announcement of Veeam, because we have very strategic relationship with Veeam. You can see a lot of joint webinars between Zadara and Veeam, specifically even about this ransomware. Generally, as Zadara, we are we cover the full strategy of Veeam 3211, which is I won't go too much into that, but mainly talking about 3 different copies with 2 different media and 1 offline, etc. So we can be in any tier of the Veeam. To the performance tier, what they called is the direct backup. We can be a cloud backup, what they call the capacity tier, together with the immutability. All of this is available in inq. So you can have your backups securely stored in inq through the Veeam Cloud Connect. Another thing that you can do, which is unlike with Zadara, which is not similar to any other service provider, to any other storage provider, is through our VPSA technology, you can actually create your own private backup, meaning you can have your backups stored in your own VPSA. And that is a level of isolation and privacy that is not available even in the public cloud providers, the hyperscalers. It is available through any service provider that uses the Zadara technology, again, available at inq. Very quickly about Microsoft Office 365. Office 365, as probably a lot of you are using, moving away from Exchange to an Office 365, which is highly convenient. Just to remind, Office 365 is not just the emails, it's the BI applications, it's a lot of applications that the Office applications, etc. A lot of the information is stored in Office 365. Now, this is essential information for the business. What was amazing in the research that was done by Veeam is that 74% of the businesses in 2019, through to 2019, were not protecting their Office 365 data because they're saying, okay, it's in Microsoft, it's in Azure. They're probably a very known and large brand, and they are making sure that our information is safe. And this is a quite amazing number, because not all of them are familiar with the Office 365 shared responsibility model. The shared responsibility model, when you sign into Office 365 service, means that there's a lot of, although there are a lot of measures that are and responsibilities taken care and covered by Microsoft Azure service, like having, for example, the uptime level, the geo redundancy. They also even have a recycle bin where maybe you deleted by mistake, you deleted the file. You can revoke it through the recycle bin, and some substantial security and regulatory measures. However, what they don't take care of, and they expect you to take care of, is to have a copy of your data. So let's say Office 365 is down for in one of the regions where you're hosted, and you need to revoke it. You won't be able to do that. If you're deleted some files because of a malware, etc., and it's not available for you, you will not be able to restore it. And essentially, the infrastructure, in a high level, the infrastructure is taken care of by Microsoft, but the data itself, you need to, as a user, you need to make sure it's protected. So this is something that is it's very serious, and it's very important to be aware of. What Vim is introduced is a backup for Office 365, which can be provided on premise. So you can actually back up your Office 365 into a local on-premise backup, and also through a local service provider, especially with the ability to run it in immutable storage, which is the most protected way to store your backup. So this is
this is just a time check. We need to hurry up. The time is almost spent.
Yes. So thank you very much. And yeah, I actually finished. And back to you, Abu. And thank you, Abu.
Okay, thank you, Tal. Ifeanyi will give us a customer use case that we have implemented here in Nigeria. Ifeanyi, briefly, let's talk about that before we go into the questions and the Q&A. For attendees who have questions, you can do that in the chat so that we can respond to your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Abu. I'll be sharing with us a very brief use case, a kind of customer success story we have. So we have this customer, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. It's an agency of the Federation set up to manage funds in the excess of budgeted oil revenues. So it has its headquarters in Abuja, and the type of business is sovereign wealth fund management. It has got about an equity of about 1.5 billion US dollars. So its main mission is to play a leading role by driving sustained economic development for the benefit of all Nigerians through building a savings base for the Nigerian people, enhancing development of Nigeria's infrastructure, and providing stabilization support in times of economic stress. So NSIA approached Inc. to help it solve some storage challenges it faced. It required an agile storage resources. This was because their former storage infrastructure was cumbersome and expensive to run and maintain. So it needed a storage platform that would give it the kind of performance it was looking for. A storage where you have the ability to grow the storage and shrink it as the business requires. So Inc. positioned our solution, in this case, backup as a service. So this backup as a service solution is powered by Zadara. And today, NSIA has seen results around savings in the storage cost, such that they've been able to bring down their storage cost by about 45%. They've also seen improved performance by about 80%. And now they can either scale up or down without having to think about how do we re-architect our infrastructure. So they've also gained the ability to have the kind of privacy a financial institution will be looking at. So, and the platform also gives them the opportunity to shrink the disk in case if they might want to migrate to another platform. And today, they enjoy the OPEX model, which allows them to pay for only what they consume, not for the hardware itself. So this is one of the customer success stories that we would like to share with you. Thank you, Abu.
Ifeanyi.
Okay,
Thank you, Ifeanyi, for that.
I think at this point, we are open to take your questions. So you can put it on the chat, or you can put whatever question you might have on the chat.
Yeah, one of the questions that was one of the asks in that we saw in the chat is to send a slide, and we will send these slides. So don't worry.
Okay, Tal, there's another question around what is the storage cost on premise and on hyper cloud. Then he also wants to learn more about pay-as-you-go pricing. Could you just throw more light on that?
Yeah, so I won't go into the actual cost, okay? I will talk about the model. The cost is the cost varies mainly in how you actually use or what you use. So, for example, if you use an all-flash array, object storage, etc. The main idea is that we create a VPSA one or more in a way that fits your current requirements, and you only pay for this actual VPSA which is consumed. It is based. We have three types. The all-flash array obviously is the more expensive, but it has deduplication capabilities, so you can actually utilize a little bit less of the physical storage or resources. We have the hybrid, where you can mix hard drives and SSDs, and we have the object storage, which is the most cost-effective, and it can scale almost unlimitedly. Our largest is VPSA is 64 petabytes. So I won't get into the specifics, but we can discuss this, offline, case by case.
Okay, Tal, another question.
Yes.
So the customer would want to know is the immutable.
Yeah, I see the question. If there are, if the immutable backups are 100% secure and free from ransomware. So I will tell you this: there's no technology anywhere in the world that is 100% secured guarantee. At the end of the day, it's up to you to run your security, your security measures, and if you implement immutable backups, it doesn't mean that you don't need to have different layers of protections against ransomware. Having said that, for the backups themselves, for protecting the backups, this is the most secure, the best manner available or technology available today in the market. It is it's similar in the backups manner. It's similar to the worm technology, which is considered a very secure, which is the write once, read many. Okay, so again, nothing in 100%, but yes, this is the best way to secure your, or most recommended way to secure your backups, and we highly recommend using that.
Okay, thank you, Tal. Our time is now spent. Keep the questions coming in the chat, and we'll be able to respond to each person even after this webinar. At this point, we will hand over to Solomon Ogufere, who will give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abu, and thank you, everyone. I'd like to say a big thank you again. Reality is we appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to attend this webinar. I believe some of the insights shared and the value which the enterprise storage solution will bring to your business, you're already thinking about it. The customers we have relationship managers attached to each of them. So please do reach out, to your relationship managers. And when we do send a thank you note, we're happy to get some additional feedback. Like Abu has said, we'll continue with the chat to respond to any other questions, and we can take the conversation even further. Thank you. Do have a good afternoon, and see you soon. Thank you.